Hello, friends. Let's talk about systems. This is one of my favorite topics. I write LitRPG. LitRPG typically involves some sort of system, but I thought it would be interesting to talk about the distinction between hard and soft systems. Now, you may have heard this term in world building or hard world building, if I can say these things, or soft world building. You may have even heard them in reference to magic. Hard magic systems or soft magic systems. Brandon Sanderson was the one who popularized that terminology, and I think it's really helpful. And I'd like to apply that same terminology to LitRPG systems, hard systems and soft systems. Now, there is some distinction here. I'm not talking about crunchy or not crunchy. Crunchy LitRPG refers to lots of numbers, and not crunchy LitRPG, or no crunch LitRPG, refers to LitRPG systems that don't have any numbers. However, and I think this is important, hard and soft are different categories. It's true that the vast majority of crunchy LitRPG happens to be hard system. And the vast majority of no crunch LitRPG happens to be soft system. Not universally true, though, and I think hard and soft refer to a different set of criteria that we use for evaluating a system. And I think that understanding these distinctions and understanding what makes something hard, what makes something soft, what the benefits, what the issues with each of these systems and these styles of systems, I think understanding all of this is just vitally important if we are to improve in our craft, improve as writers. Now, while this is not going to be a video that is as applicable to those of you who are not reading or writing LitRPG, I do think that there is some value for you here, because outside of LitRPG, I'm talking about systems specifically, but outside of LitRPG, these frameworks can actually be applied to pretty much any sort of power structure. So if you're writing progression, it applies. If you are writing urban fantasy, it applies. Though you're going to be leaning more into the just hard, soft magic than I am. But let's get into it. Let's actually define what is a hard system and what is a soft system. Simply put, a hard system is a system in which all of the rules are explicit, and a soft system is a system in which the rules are not explicit. That is to say, does the reader know what the rules are? If the reader does not know what the rules are, you are dealing with a soft system. Now, they may know some of the rules, but there might be other rules they don't know. Soft system. If, on the other hand, they know all of the rules, hard system. If it's a system that can be manipulated by the author to do interesting things within the rule set, hard system. If the author can manipulate things to drive the story as they want, but they can do that because they're not actually revealing what the rules are, then that's a soft system. Note, because, this is a writing channel, not explicit is not the same thing as implicit. Okay? Two different things. So, let's start with hard systems. What's helpful about a hard system, what's good about a hard system, and what's not so good about a hard system? The first and best thing about a hard system is that it's easy to write in, because once all of the rules are established, then you know very clearly what you can do, what you can't do. And it becomes much easier to drive a character forward, right? To progress them through the system. And this actually deals with one of the greatest challenges that LitRPG and progression fantasy in general face, which is that as a system scales, it tends to just get stupid. Like, not even like broken or OP, because often they're broken and OP from the very beginning. They just get dumb, right? You start like putting together interactions that leave the reader just sort of scratching their head and just completely break immersion and break any sort of believability, right? For example, you give anybody some sort of teleport power, and pretty much everything just goes out the window. The number of loopholes teleportation creates is just astronomical. I mean, the same thing is true for any number of other abilities, where application of those abilities can just get absolutely wild. So a hard system is really convenient because you can still scale up, but the power creep doesn't end up being quite as bad. On the other hand, this is also sometimes one of the biggest downsides to a hard system. Because all of the rules are explicit, you end up in one of two situations. First of all, other people figure out better ways to do things than you do, and you look dumb. And then your comments are full of questions like, well, why didn't the main character just do X, Y, or Z? And you're left there thinking to yourself, oh, man, that's obvious now that I see it, but why didn't I think of it? Then, on the other hand, if you constrict the system really tightly, it can get boring. It can just be hard to scale exponentially, and when you can't scale exponentially, it removes some of the excitement of the story. I mean, progression fantasy is all about exponential scaling, right? First you fight the local town bully, and then you fight the mayor of the town, and then you fight the head of the region, and then the duke shows up and you fight him, and then you're fighting the king, and then the emperor, and then an intergalactic emperor comes out of nowhere and kicks you in the face, and so you got to go fight him. We scale, right? But we don't necessarily scale linearly. However, with a hard system where all of the rules are explicit, it becomes hard to add in any of that exponential scaling. Because if you add in exponential scaling, then everybody gets to scale exponentially. And if everybody gets to scale exponentially, your hero is not special, right? And in progression fantasy and in LitRPG, the hero's uniqueness, their ability to power up faster than everybody else, is often the driving motivator for your power system. So those are the major pros and cons of a hard system. What about a soft system? How should we be thinking about this? Well, a soft system, again, is any system where the rules are not explicit. That is, they have not been fully fleshed out. And this allows the author to hand-wave things and to say, well, this power works like this because I said so, and it's magic. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, the majority of books that are successful in LitRPG have what is effectively a soft system where some or all of the rules are hidden, both from the main character and from the reader. And when you have a system like that, when you have a system where the author is using the system to drive the story as opposed to as a standalone sort of artifact, the main upside is that you can use it to drive your story, right? As long as you can stay within the bounds of plausible, you can do whatever you want in order to create the story that you want. And when you can create a story that you want, often it's the story that other people want to read. And so soft systems are very permissive. They allow the author to do a lot of different things. But they're not without their downsides too. One of the major issues with a soft system is that if you don't tread the line of believable carefully, it can just get, again, kind of stupid, right? You have a character who gets a special level up, and all of a sudden they are way out ahead of everybody else. But depending on how you do it, you might leave the reader thinking to themselves, well, this doesn't seem realistic at all. How come they're the ones who get all of the, special unique items and nobody else has any special unique items? Why is it that they're getting the 1 in a million drops, every level up, and nobody else is? Why is it that they're getting this special power and nobody is just coming in and crushing them and taking it away? With a soft system, it's a lot easier to paint yourself into a corner and end up in a situation where you've made your character so powerful that nothing matters anymore. Or you've given them an ability that is so strong that the stakes have just bled out. And that actually brings us to the second main difference between hard system and soft system LitRPG. And that is that hard system LitRPG is more often focused on the quest itself as the object of the book. That is to say, there is a character who is working within a system to achieve an objective, and the objective itself is the thing that matters. The character matters, but is secondary. Hard systems tend to be more about the plot, right? What's actually happening. On the other hand, soft systems tend to be more about the character rather than the thing they're trying to do. And again, this is not a hard and fast rule. You can write both systems both ways, but this is a general truth. When you're writing a hard system, typically the objective is what you're aiming for. And when you're writing a soft system, typically character growth is what you're aiming for. And depending on how you like to write or what you like to read, you're going to tend to gravitate toward one or the other. Neither is better, neither is worse. These are just very distinct, very different ways of writing systems. But, I'm curious, what do you default to? Do you write hard systems? Do you write soft systems? Which way do you lean as a writer? And importantly, which way do you lean as a reader? I'm curious to know if they are the same. For me, I tend to gravitate towards soft systems because I'm much more interested in the journey that the character is on than them achieving a specific task. But again, that's just personal preference. There isn't a right or wrong way to go about this. So let me know down in the comments, are you more interested in reading soft systems or more interested in reading hard systems? And which one are you more interested in writing?